What up? What up? Welcome back. This is episode number 10 of the Made Hoops podcast. As always, I'm your host, Austin Smith. We're back at it again for another episode. And as you can see, I'm joined by some familiar guests, and we got a new guest in the building. First off, shout out to my guy, Eric Camford. You all know him as the director of scouting here at Made Hoops. But the special guest in the building, as you all can see, he is Chad Babel, and he is the CEO of Made Hoops. If you don't know him, cool, but guess what? You're going to get a chance to know him today because we're going to dive into Chad's backstory, man, and get some of his basketball starts on the current culture right now. So first off, Chad, man, we're glad to have you here, brother. How you feeling today?
I feel like my elbow's hurting me a little bit. Eric pulled it behind my back and said it was time that I made my debut, but I'm happy to be here with you, Austin. Me and Eric need to have a conversation after this, though.
I love it. I love it. Eric, let me ask you this, man. Like a lot of people, again, don't really know Chad's backstory, but you've been had the pleasure of really working with him and being alongside of him. Just from a quick glance, man, what do you know about Chad, and what can you give the audience about your personal interactions with him?
Well, we're on the record, so there are a ton of stuff. No, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway overall, and like, I think anyone who knows the real, this isn't some type of like podcast fluff. Like, Chad works incredibly hard. There's not really an off switch, and I think that speaks a lot to what he's done in this industry and where he's continuing to go. Is like, every single day, it's like, and I forget who I had this conversation with, somebody, a mutual friend to us both, was like, yeah, he's always on 10. Like, he wakes up on 10. Wow. I was like, no, he's on 10 when he wakes up. He's on 10 at 3 a.m. He's on 10 at 5 a.m. Like, it's just, that's the way he's wired. And I think that's the way a lot of people who are in the positions they're at when they're, CEOs of different companies, that's why they are in that position. So I think there's also a pressure there among our group to be like, well, Chad's always on 10, like we always got to be on 10. So there's some really good stuff that I think comes from that and within our own team culture, because it's a pressure for you to be better, which I enjoy. I don't think everybody we've always had on our team has enjoyed that. And that's kind of why some things haven't lasted with some people. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say that's my one takeaway of working with Chad, knowing Chad, getting to know Chad, is like, he's always trying to figure out what the next move is, where we're trying to go, how to navigate whatever walls or opponents are in our way. It's always some type of strategy and a way for us to get better.
Well, when we're the CEO of Made Hoops, obviously as big of a brand as Made Hoops is, and I've told you about this even when I first got started, man, you see Made Hoops everywhere, and every kid, it seems like every kid is wearing a Made Hoops something. Before we even got started, I'm watching plays with Made Hoops gear around the gym, and so you can definitely see and credit, like you talked about, the work ethic and this just being on 10, that go-getter mentality that Chad has that has ultimately elevated the brand to where it is. So kudos to Chad for doing that and instilling that a part of the whole team's culture. So with that, Chad, I want to dive right into you and your backstory. Man, tell us about you, Chad, personally. How did you get here to being CEO of Made Hoops today?
A lot of luck and certainly a lot of hard work, but I always pin it down to two things. I mean, hard work and relationships. The hard work for me becomes I'm truly passionate about this game, right? And I think a lot of people who are in this business, unfortunately, it's a business first to them. And it's just never been that for me. Basketball for me, I was never the best basketball player, played high school ball, and, that was my ceiling. And that was a big deal for me, just to be able to do that. But it's always been a passion for me. Even when I was a child, I'm frustrated or had a bad day, didn't like something, I'd go to the park. Right. I go to the park, I get up shots. So it's always been an outlet for me. It's always been a passion for me. I was smart enough very early on to know I wasn't going to be able to be a player and make a business out of this from my lack of athletic talents. But I had a deep passion and I got involved in the business very, very early. Literally 13 years old, I started coaching. So, Kyle, our my brother and chief branding officer of Made, I started coaching him and his friends like when they were 8 years old. And literally to the point where like the town supervisor of like of the league we were in literally is like, he's coaching too hard. Now, why was that? Because to Eric's point, I'm on 10, even at 13 years old. I'm screaming for everybody to trap. We're full court pressing all game. I was watching, Billy Donovan and the Florida Gators, rotate out 9-10 guys trapping all over the place. I'm like, no, that's us. We're the Gators. Let's go. So I got my start coaching. And then I would literally take Kyle out to the park, train him, train his buddies. And that's how I got started. And then when I was 16, I started working at Basketball City with their youth programs. So for 3 summers, I worked at Basketball City, started working under Justin Leonard. Justin's now the CEO of Game 7 Marketing, and really learned the business of basketball. So, I mean, the story I tell, and sometimes I don't love telling it to everybody, but it's the truth. Justin's first job that he gave me was, Chad, you're the canteen boy. Go sell Powerades, go sell Snickers bars. And so at 16 years old, Basketball City, not the new one, right? The old one on the west side. I'm sitting at the canteen and I'm just, okay, my job is to sell Powerades. Apparently, I think I sold more Powerades and Snickers bars and potato chips in like a day than they had in like the previous 2 summers combined, or I don't know, something. Maybe it was a week. But long story short, Justin was like, all right, yeah, that's enough. You're done there. Go down to the office. And what I started to do is what we have a bunch of our people at Maine do now. Calling people, getting people registered for camp, telling them what the benefits of it were. I remember I go back to New Heights' first ever AAU tournament was ran at Basketball City. That's how far back me and Adam Berkowitz go, is helping to manage their first AAU tournament ever when I'm 16 years old. And I started meeting guys. I started meeting players. I started meeting guys who I work with now. And that was my origin. That was my origin. And from there, put in 3 summers, met a lot of people in the New York City basketball community. And then as I went into college, I had to get some internship credit. So I knew I wanted to do sports management, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I used some of my internship credits to work with the New York Gauchos, and started doing some administrative work for them, and quickly fell like completely head over heels in love with recruiting. Right? How do I meet people? How do I get players on our team? How do we get them in the gym? How do we get them better? And kind of those 2 things were the start of my journey, right? Really learning the administrative side at Basketball City, and then really just learning the AAU game, the grassroots basketball scene, whether it be college coaches, tournament operators, how events work, how do you build a team? How do you train kids? How do you mentor and help families through the process? So that was really my origin story.
Wow, like that. This is cool for me to know because, again, like when you think Nike basketball, when you think Made Hoops, first of all, primarily, like you hear Chad all the time. Like I can't tell you how many times, yo, Chad, and it's like,
it's not all true. Just for the record, it's not all true.
Look, it may not be true, man, but I promise you, like as a basketball fan, and if you really like study grassroots basketball and you're trying to know who the who's. Like it's like, man, okay, this got to figure out one day who this Chad guy is. And now, obviously, me and being able to partner with you guys and having the opportunity, incredible opportunity, to work with you guys, man, it's super dope. Let me ask you this, Chad. You have the title now, CEO of Made Hoops. You got the experience from, like you said, man, selling Powerades and Snicker bars, what I would call just OG hustling, right? How has that work ethic you had when you were younger helped cement Made as the brand it is right now?
I'll be honest, like the CEO title sometimes like weirds me out. Like, yeah, I mean, it's my title, sure. But like, I've never looked at myself like that. I've always looked at myself as a director, like, and it's been a growth and a development, and being forced to by guys like Eric and, Rob and guys on our team, to kind of grow and evolve into more of a leadership capacity. But the reality of the situation is we are as good as our team, and we have a tremendous group of people. And the reality of the situation is you go back to the very beginning, like this wasn't necessarily what we were setting out to do, right? Made Hoops came and evolved from solving a problem, right? And the problem was middle school basketball needed It needed organization. It needed structure. It needed the ultimate competitive playing field of putting the best teams versus each other. And I think like any good business, it starts with a problem and how do you solve the problem? And for us, we're trying to solve that thing every single day. And we're trying to be the best we can every single day. And, to Eric's point earlier, I am adamant about how do we become better than we were the day before. I don't care what other people say. If they say we're the best now, great, cool. That's awesome. But that doesn't give us nothing for tomorrow. That doesn't give us for next week. It certainly doesn't give us nothing for next year. It's constantly, how do we become the best version of ourselves? How do we serve these kids and these families and these basketball communities, and ultimately deliver the best events and the best product that we humanly can. And I'm really proud of the group that we have on our team, because they're truly passionate about our mission. Some people don't even realize Made Hoops stands for something. Made stands for maximizing athletes' development and exposure. And it's not a fake acronym. Like, it's not, oh yeah, like that's some cute little words we put with the letters. No, like when I was originally coming up with the concept of Made and, what are we going to do and how are we going to do it? For me, it had to be a deeper meaning. For me, I've been in the event management space. I worked for the Hoop Group. They're the best. Rob Kennedy is a mentor and a friend to me to this day. And they've built an incredible business. For me, though, it wasn't about building a business. It was about building a way of doing events. It was about cultivating an environment where, how do we have best on best? How, when we do camps, are we having the best strength and conditioning people? We're measurements. We're having classroom sessions. We're giving kids and families education on mental health, NIL, what's new going on in the space. How do we have guys who have coached Division I basketball, played in the NBA, a part of our programming? So Made, and when we talk about maximizing, I stand by that word. Like, our job is to maximize these athletes' development, maximize their exposure, and just give them the best opportunity they possibly can, and just give everything into ourselves, into them.
I love that. And hearing you say that, like those standards, it shows. Oh, that's dope. And this is good for me, man. And that's why I tell Eric the other day, I'm like, man, one of the cool parts about me getting hosting is I get a chance to hear these stories. And again, like not just put names with faces, but understand how and why. That's
I don't know if Austin knew what the acronym meant.
I didn't, bro. Like,
hey, we're here to educate everybody. We're here to teach everybody.
Facts. Listen, I want to take you back maybe a year or so ago, Chad. Obviously, a year ago, everybody's having to adapt with COVID and things of that nature. And, when you talk about from a leadership perspective, all companies had to find new ways to facilitate growth, new ways to try to keep their brand sustaining. What was that like for you and I guess you could say the spring and summer of 2021 last year, really navigating the travel ball season where everybody made an attempt to get players back in the gym and still stay safe? What was going through your mind at that time?
2021 was wild. For me, even just going back to 2020, 2020 was a little bit of a breath of fresh air for me. I actually had a chance to sit down, which, I don't. I'm typically on the road 200 days a year, whether it be at our events or any event that a basketball is being dribbled. I pride myself on, if the ball is being dribbled, I'm probably there. In 2021, I looked at it as an opportunity. I looked at it as an opportunity where I feel that the basketball community trusted us. People know that we're about the right things. We're about trying to do the events to the best of our ability. And I think the community spoke. And the reality was, I felt like a CDC expert at times. I was definitely constantly on the website investigating what states we're allowed to play in, what were the rules, what were the protocols, how do we do it? And there were certainly times I was pulling our team like, nope, come on, we're doing this. But it was amazing now that I get to look back on it, it was horrible going through it. When you think about like everything we had to do, from clearing out teams after every single game to, full security to, wiping down all benches and spraying down. It was a very interesting journey, but what I'm most proud of is our team took to heart. Our responsibility was to provide the most safe playing environment that we humanly could, right? Look, we all knew COVID-19 was out there. There was no confusion about that from anybody. Everybody had an own personal decision that they had to make about whether they wanted to play, not play, and we tried to respect everybody's opinion. Our stance was, we're going to take this seriously. We're going to do this to the best of our abilities. We're going to provide the safest and most available opportunity to play that we can. And I think we did a pretty darn good job with it. And, when you look through, we got both our winter circuits off last year, East Coast and West Coast. We ran arguably the event of the year in Midwest Mania, featuring, it was probably like the top 5-6 guys in the class of 2022. I think it was a superb moment of like growth and just kind of uniting together as a team for us, of just figuring it out, right? And not just figuring it out, but figuring out how to do it the right way and how to provide the safest possible environment for our families, for our kids, for our teams.
Wow. Yeah, that year was incredible for everybody. But like you just said, I was following along at the time, and it's like, man, they still out here making stuff happen when a lot of other companies just weren't able to do so. But I think that speaks again to the culture you created here and how you guys run things here, how we run things here at Made, and just how you got to get the ball rolling and keeping it rolling. So I love this chat. Listen, I'm like every time we have a podcast episode, I'm like a sponge. So this is all great. And I'm hope our audience is listening to this and understanding just some of the key aspects and key takeaways you can apply possibly to your own life, players to your own game, your work ethic, your determination, willpower, all those good things help you become a better person. And then for the young players out there, that helps you on the court as well. Chad, I want to ask you about this to give our audience an even deeper dive into your lens and your perspective from Made. You've had some very notable people, alumni, coaches step through the building. One in particular, and you've seen pictures out there, obviously was Kobe and Gianna had the chance to come through and step through the Made Hoops platform. Along with them, what other incredible memories do you have of just maybe games, players, or even just memories of people stepping through the doors of a Made Hoops event or a camp or circuit?
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes it's a blur. But I mean, my first thought is always, the CP3 team that originally came through year one. And then for those who don't know, like year one of Made Hoops, you had Team Takeover and you had CP3. They were unquestionably number one, number two, 8th grade teams in the country back in 2014. And, one of my biggest memories is Wendell Moore, with CP3. And obviously he's had tremendous success. I'm fortunate to still have a relationship with his family. You see them, it's a big hug. And that's always amazing, right? Like that's what this thing is really about, is truly those relationships. But one of the things I remember is I drove, a rental van down to Greensboro, North Carolina, 10 hours in the van. For the record, B and some of our other guys who were on that trip, I drove the whole 10 hours down and about 6 of the hours back, but we won't talk about that. But I drove the whole 10 hours down, and the whole time, we had gotten 3 sessions off the ground, we're heading down to North Carolina, and we had 12 teams in the league, we had to jump in a van and we had to go drive. And I remember there was just a crowd around the semifinal game, Team United, CP3 in North Carolina. You had guys like BJ Mack on Team United, Juwan Gary, you had Wendell Moore, and you had the Langley twins, who've been having a great career at UNC Greensboro. That's one of those things where I'm like, oh, wow, like we might be doing something right here. Like this might be working. So that's a big time memory of mine. The second big time memory I have is year 2 of the warm up in Arkansas. And we knew we had like a really good, we had Trey Young, we had Michael Porter, Javante Smart, Gerald Liddell. Like we had some really good, obviously now some of those names are household names in the NBA. But there started to be a couple people whispering like, I think he's coming. I think he's coming. And Bam Adebayo, we had no idea that he was coming. And he ended up coming with Team Penny. I mean, I was scared that the rim was going to break the entire game. I mean, it's so many dunks. It was unbelievable. That was a memory just because, like, I mean, this was a top 5, top 10 player, now an NBA All-Star, like, who just popping up at a Made Hoops event. That was just like, whoa, like that was a big time memory. But the truth of the matter is, I mean, it's been 8 years now. We've had some incredible talent come through the door. And for me, like, all I could say is I just think the people and the kids and the families that come through the door, it's really just an acknowledgement that we're doing stuff the right way. And every time, like, I'm with our team and we talk about, like, how do we keep being better? It always comes down to do stuff the right way, right? Let's not cut corners. Let's not do anything for money. Do dope events, right? Do things the right way, put your all into it, put your energy to it. And I think the ultimate, affirmation of that is the elite talent that's been coming through the gym.
So here's the $1 million question, Chad, I got to ask you. For Made Hoops, what's next? Got to tell us. What's next? What can we expect, man? The brand is already as big as it is now. Like, I got to ask, what's next?
So I'll be honest with you. Like, it's very weird for me. Like, when people are like, oh, the brand is very big now. Oh, it's this and that. Like, I use this term all the time. I think I'm just in the vortex of it, right, where it's every single day. It's trying to, if that's what they say, awesome. But it's living up to that every single day. And you hear a lot of people talk about it just in business and in the world. And one of my friends actually texted it to me this morning. He's like, are you complacent with winning? And the truth of the matter is, I don't like winning. I don't like winning. I only like dominating.
Okay. That's good.
Winning's not enough for me. I want to win in every single thing we do, in every single way, and I want to keep doing that. So what's next for me? It's just keep getting better, right? Like, we have a new website coming. We're super excited about that. The website that we have currently has, served us well for a number of years, but we're excited to upgrade that. Right. We want to continue to improve our registration processes. We want to make things easier for people. We're instituting some things with that website with rostering and player profiles and team profiles. And so we're really excited about that. That's a huge initiative that we got going. But the true answer is we're just trying to be better in every single way that we humanly can be, and just continue to be the, first in class in the event management business.
I love it. I love it, man. Chad, this has been gold, brother. And we got a few more minutes left here. So what I want to do is I want to kind of go through a speed round and kind of get to know you and your personality a bit. So these are going to be some cool questions, man, that you can just run off real quickly. When Chad Babel enters into any Made Hoops event, what's on your playlist in your headphones?
I'm not a big music guy.
Okay.
I'm not a big music guy, but if I'm playing anything, it's either Drake, Eminem, or Jay-Z, but it's probably not outside those three.
Got it. All right. Let me ask you this. NBA playoffs are happening right now. Who's your team? Who are you picking to win it all this year?
Oh, that's hard. I'll say this. I think the Bucks are in a position right now where they're just going to be tough to beat. That's my answer.
Okay. Favorite Nike basketball shoe?
Nike basketball shoe to play in is probably the Kyrie's.
Okay. And then what's your favorite style shoe?
I love the Jordan 1s.
There you go. There we go, Chad.
The big ones guy.
That's dope. That's dope. Last question for you here, Chad. When it's all said and done, when you take a look back at your career, what one or two things do you want to stand for?
Are you telling me my career is over here soon?
No,
Eric, is this my exit podcast? Am I
We're trying to give you your flowers now.
Wait,
Oh,
hold on. Like that's the question you ask like a 55-year-old. Like,
listen, man, we gotta give people flowers when they deserve them now. Okay. I was in the middle of I was doing workouts like before I got on the team here, and people were in Made Hoops gear. So are we on this podcast today? I'm gonna ask Chad this question. I got to talk to me, brother.
Kind of what I just said earlier. I hope we live to our mission. I hope we maximize the athletes' development exposure. I hope we gave kids an opportunity and a platform to take their games to a level that they think they can get it to. And ultimately, I hope people say that Chad did it his way, but he did it in the goodness of his heart. He did it in a way that he best saw fit. And ultimately, he was trying to, make the most of the cards that were dealt to him and tried to create the best platform that he humanly could. That's every day. That's kind of how I think of it.
I love it. We could definitely see, like I said earlier, man, the standard, the consistency with the Made Hoops brand. And I'm excited to continue to be running this podcast each and every time we host it, man. And the event circuit has been dope to follow along. Eric, any last things from you, brother, that you've seen that you want to give the audience a glimpse at, or just what you know about Chad personally without Chad getting pissed off and mad or anything?
I was going to say, going back to your playlist question, Chad is the playlist if he's coming into a Made Hoops event, because when he walks in the door, there's usually about 20 different things he wants to correct or make sure is right. So he's usually buzzing around. He doesn't have time to listen to music when he's coming into one of our events. It's usually making sure the registration table's good, making sure the stuff with the signage and branding looks straight on the walls. Like he has a checklist of things he's going around and kind of making sure everybody's doing what they need to do.
Listen, E, that was a great answer. That was phenomenal, man. You laid that out. What you think, Chad? That was beautiful, wasn't it?
Listen, I live it. I've lived it for 4 years. I know what it is.
Hey, we have a standard. We have a standard. So to E's point, now I'm not really focused on music. I'm focusing on how is our brand represented. Is everybody on top of their stuff? And hopefully we're welcoming in these teams and these families and these kids with open arms. And I will say this, I'm very proud. I think people know when they're in a Made Hoops event, right? When you walk in a building, whether it's our door signage, whether it's backboard sticker, whatever it is, that's one thing I'm very proud of. People know when you're at a Made Hoops event. It doesn't matter if you've been to that gym 20 times. It's different when Made Hoops is there.
Facts. All day long. Chad, thank you, brother. Everyone, listen, you all got a hot episode today, episode number 10, featuring our CEO here at Made Hoops, Chad Babel. A bunch of great insight into his wiring, man, and his DNA. I'll call it championship DNA. Please, man, share this episode with a friend. Players, you all listen to this and share it with your teammates, because there's a lot of stuff in this podcast episode today that can help you mentally on and off the floor. So definitely great episode, Chad. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you again for all you do for us here at Made Hoops, and continue to set the standard high for everything we got going as a company. Folks, y'all have tuned in to episode number 10 of the Made Hoops podcast. As always, I'm your host, Austin Smith. Got my brother, my man, Eric Hanford. He's our director of scouting, and joined with us today was our CEO, Mr. Chad Babel himself. Thanks for tuning in. We will see you all very soon on the next episode of the Made Hoops podcast.